Happy Friday, everyone, and happy WWE Night of Champions Eve as we are here very last minute to finally predict this thing. SmackDown is going to air right after we're done with the stream. Of course, WWE is already over in Saudi Arabia, and tonight's SmackDown has already been taped. The results are out there. You're not going to hear any spoilers on this stream. We might talk a little bit about it, but we're going to try not to spoil anything, even though it does look like the results and what we saw are all over the internet right now. So if you're scrolling through Twitter, if you're looking at any wrestling websites, you are seeing headlines from things that took place on SmackDown. So we're not going to spoil anything, and I would appreciate it if nobody did in the chat because we did have title change on SmackDown tonight, and we had a pretty fun-looking segment between CM Punk and John Cena. But like I said, no spoilers. SmackDown has already been taped, and that's going to air here in just a little bit. But I have not yet given you guys Night of Champions predictions. I meant to come up earlier in the week and do this, but I just didn't have time. And I'm kind of glad I waited because WWE arrived, or the WWE crew, I guess, the talent and everything, arrived in Saudi Arabia, I believe, yesterday. And we had some drama right off the bat involving CM Punk. So I'm glad that we've had a day for that to happen, for all of the social media reaction to happen, and for CM Punk to make good on everything during the Night of Champions kickoff, I think earlier today or last night or whenever the hell that was going on. And I'm glad that I waited to do my predictions because we can talk about that. So really in this episode, all we're going to do is talk about the CM Punk situation, what he did to that fan, how he made good on it today, and we're going to predict the entire Night of Champions card, which we do have 6 matches total. And like I said, we'll talk a little bit about SmackDown, but we're going to avoid giving away spoilers if we can help it. And that's pretty much it for today. Now, tomorrow, we are going to be here for a Night of Champions review, not a watch-along. For me, I think here on the West Coast in California, Night of Champions starts at 10 a.m., that ain't good for Greg. So no watch along that early in the morning. You guys don't want to see me, with one bloodshot eye and slurring my words and not knowing what fucking day it is and all that stuff. So we're going to do a review instead. That link is already set for tomorrow. It's up, and we've scheduled it for the same time that this one is going live at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific, which will probably be about an hour or two maybe after the show goes off the air. So that'll give me a chance to catch up in case I didn't see the first match or anything like that, and give you guys a thorough review tomorrow afternoon. Also on Sunday, we're back for another classic watch-along, and the link is already up, and I was wondering which one we were going to do on Sunday. We talked a little bit about it last week. And I've landed on WCW Bash at the Beach 2000. It's time. It's time to do that one. It's time to watch the Hogan and Jarrett thing. We've never done it. We've never watched it before. I don't even think I've ever even reviewed that show. It's time. We're going to be watching that one on Sunday, and we will also be here on Monday, either in watch-along or review form, probably review, to talk about Raw and Night of Champions Fallout. So get ready to see 4 straight days of me. Glad you guys are here. Happy Friday. I know this is a Friday afternoon stream, so I have no idea what kind of audience we're going to do today, but I appreciate y'all being here. Those of you who are, let's say hello to Melissa Hernandez. And why does everybody have ats by their name? Is that something that I've set up by accident? You guys all got ats, and I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know if that's new or what. But anyway, Melissa Hernandez, Ian Dunn, Michael Kumo, good to see you. We Are Pro Wrestling is in the house as well. We got WOC 1371. We got Mohammed and Rodrigo. And we've got Daniel Barry Sports, David Brown, Coco Anarchy. We got Kids 919, Rodrigo, Unrattled. Yeah, let me just double check my settings to make sure I have not done that to you guys. For those who can, or customization. Let's just see here. Live chat replay, subscribers, live reactions. Looks like it's all normal. All my settings are normal, so I don't know why you guys are all having those little ats by your name. It's just everything's set the way I normally set it, so it's nothing here on my end. I don't know really what that is all about, so I apologize if that goofs anybody up there in the chat. But we have got a lot to talk about today in addition to these predictions. Now, also, I saw somebody mentioning in the chat. Oh, yeah, and then we've got, I think that might be Ryan. So, yeah, you guys have all got your, handles or your @ symbols. I don't know what's going on there in the chat, why you guys don't have your normal usernames. I don't think that's anything that I'm doing. But I did notice that in the chat, somebody mentioned the issues that the SmackDown feed had, apparently, because if you have a VPN or you live outside of the United States and you have Netflix, you were able to watch SmackDown live as it aired earlier on today. But apparently they lost the feed for about 30 minutes. And word is it had nothing to do with Netflix. This was a power outage in Saudi Arabia that affected the arena. Apparently, Gorilla Position went completely without power, and it took them a while to get everything back online. So word right now is whatever issues took place today during SmackDown that affected the broadcast, it was not Netflix. It was something to do with the power and to the arena and something Saudi Arabia related, apparently. I'm not sure if they have to refilm something or what got goofed up there, but apparently they lost the broadcast feed in the middle of the Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton segment. So I don't know how they're going to rectify that. If they were able to still just continue on and record it and they'll air it in its entirety tonight, or how that's going to work, not really sure. But for those of you who watched SmackDown Live today, apparently they did suffer some technical difficulties, and that's a shame. Coco Anarchy. I think that's you, Colin. You guys' names aren't on here. It's your handles, which is weird. Thanks for the 2. Love the one-man fucking howdy chant for the Wyatts. I don't know when that happened. I don't know if that was SmackDown or where that was. I have not seen that. Yes, good point. We Are Pro Wrestling. Thanks for pointing that out. Today was the final 3-hour SmackDown, as it does go back to 2 hours next week, which will be the 4th of July. And apparently on Monday night, this coming Monday, right, they're doing a double taping. Raw airs at a special start time, I believe, on Monday. I think that's the deal. So, yeah, that's going to goof up Monday, too. But we'll still be here to talk about Raw. And I think they're doing a double taping, apparently, so the crew can be off for 4th of July for SmackDown. That's from what I'm understanding. So correct me if I'm wrong on that. But that is what's going on. For SmackDown, going back to 2 hours, I think that is a really, really good move on their part. Because 3 hours is just too damn long. You don't need it. If you manage your time and your superstars and your angles properly and effectively and smartly, you don't need 3 hours. So hopefully everybody will not get too burnt out by wrestling once SmackDown goes back to 2, starting on America's birthday. But we're not in America tonight. We're in Saudi Arabia. We got to talk about Night of Champions, and we have to talk about everything regarding CM Punk. We're going to open with that. We also have some wrestling news. I should mention this real quick. Couple of returns that we're expecting. Number 1, Roman Reigns is set to return at any moment to get ready for whatever he's going to do at SummerSlam. This news broke a couple of days ago, but it's not surprising. This is news we were expecting to hear. I don't think anybody wasn't thinking that Roman was going to be on SummerSlam. We were all expecting him to be there in some form. He should be returning to TV maybe as early as Monday night, or they might even have him hidden somewhere in Saudi Arabia. I doubt it. Maybe he can make his presence known. Maybe he can come out on Monday or in the very, very near future and prevent Seth Rollins from cashing in, leading to a SummerSlam match. Or maybe they do Roman Reigns and Braun Breaker. Lots of possibilities for Roman Reigns, but I don't think we will know for sure until we see him and see what direction he's moving in. So Roman, we should be seeing on TV once again imminently. Also, another name we could be seeing back on WWE TV imminently is kind of a surprising one, Vicky Guerrero. Now, Vicky Guerrero could be coming back in to work some sort of an angle with Dominic. That actually could kind of be fun, but I've kind of grown sour on Vicky Guerrero just because of some of the things in her personal life, some of the things we've heard about and seen her involved with. This has kind of been a little bit of a turnoff, and Vicky Guerrero coming back in, I'm extremely indifferent to that idea, although if she came in to comfort her son Dominic, well, I guess Eddie wasn't claiming that Dom was him and Vicky's son. I think he was claiming that he hooked up with Dom's mom, I guess, right? That's what it is. So maybe Vicky is coming in to console Dominic or be there for him while he's dealing with the trauma of losing Liv Morgan. I suppose that could be somewhat entertaining, but just the very idea of Vicky Guerrero kind of puts a sour taste in my mouth, so I don't really care to see her, but apparently she is on her way back. So wanted to mention those little wrestling news tidbits there before we start jumping in. But before we get to the predictions of Night of Champions, we got to talk about what went down yesterday involving CM Punk and that little fan, and what went down earlier today during the Night of Champions kickoff. So yesterday, a shitstorm was started online when CM Punk, or the WWE stars, were arriving in Saudi Arabia. And there was a video of Punk and Randy Orton arriving to, I don't know where they were, if they were backstage at the arena. It didn't look like they were anywhere public. You know, it kind of looked like they were almost like in a backstage arena setting. I'm not sure where they were, but wherever they were was some sort of a building. They're walking in. It's Punk, it's Randy Orton, and it's one of WWE's security guards. And they're just casually strolling through. And when they do, this little kid who can't be more than 8, 9, 10 years old comes running up to CM Punk with his phone wanting a picture, and Punk just gives him the Heisman, psh, you know? And the security guard behind Punk was kind of also shoveling Punk forward, but he completely blew off the kid. And normally something like this wouldn't be a big deal, but CM Punk is going to be heavily under the microscope in Saudi Arabia. This is a guy that's made some very interesting tweets, and he's said some very interesting things about WWE's deal with Saudi Arabia. He's been on record on video saying he will never do one of these, that it's shady and weird, and he wouldn't be caught dead over there. He tweeted The Miz to suck a blood money covered dick in Saudi Arabia. And for those keeping score at home, CM Punk is currently in Saudi Arabia and The Miz is right here in America. So he's already going to be under the microscope for those past comments. And a lot of fans for the last couple of years have been wondering, since he's come back to WWE, what's going to happen with Saudi. He's going to have to work a show, and how is he going to manage that? How is he going to address that? Because fans are going to call him a hypocrite and all that. So he already had all of this kind of cloud hanging over him going into Saudi Arabia, right? So then he arrives there, and the very first thing he does is tell a kid to fuck off. Now, I know he didn't tell the kid to fuck off. He didn't shove him. I know some fans were being extremely over the top with this, acting like he attacked the fan, because there's a big contingent out there, two big contingents of anti-Punk and pro-Punk, and they were both completely up each other's asses all day yesterday. And it was really turning into anti-Punk versus pro-Punk, and the anti-Punk people were thinking that Punk just did some horrible thing here. The pro-Punk people are breaking this down like it's the goddamn Kennedy assassination, slowing it down, rewinding frame by frame. See, you can see the security guard's hand come in there and stop him. It was all him. What is Punk, the president? Give me a break. It's not the Secret Service. Come on, sir, we got to get you in here. You don't have time for a little kid. It's just silly. So you've got the anti-Punk people that think that Punk is an absolute piece of shit for this, and then you have the pro-Punk people that think nothing he did wrong. He didn't do anything wrong at all. So I think it's somewhere in the middle. This isn't going to change how I feel about Punk, how he didn't take a picture for that kid. I'm not thrusted into some sort of blind psychotic rage over Punk not taking a picture with this kid. Here's the tweet that I put up about this, by the way, which I just said, look, Punk, kids are kids. They don't understand boundaries. This little guy came up to you, overcome with excitement, and you totally blew him off. There are certainly times in a wrestler's life where they should not be bothered by a fan, especially if you're some dipshit trying to get an autograph so you can sell it on eBay. Those are the people you tell to fuck off. But this is a little kid. Sometimes you can't be bothered, and other times you just take the goddamn picture. And that's really my only point on this. It didn't really fuel any pro or anti-Punk feelings in me. I just looked at the situation and said, Punk should have hooked that little guy up. Cody would have. Remember a few months ago, some little fucker jumped the goddamn barricade and ran up to Cody during the ringside area. And Cody was like, what are you doing here? Cody was totally cool, helped him back over, and I think he even took a pic with him. So Punk, it's just, he's got to be aware of these things that, a camera might be on him. And for him just to shove the little kid away, again, not a big deal, not the end of the world. It doesn't, give, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Vindication or confirmation that Punk is some fucking scumbag. To me, it was just a situation where Punk should have taken the pick. He didn't. No big deal. Fans lost their mind for a full day about it, litigated it, debated it, all up each other's asses, where I was looking at it from a much simpler point of view, where I'm like, okay, none of this is really going to change how I feel about Punk. All I'm saying is that if I'm him, I'm stopping and taking the 5 seconds to take the fucking pic with the kid. Now, again, we are missing context here. Maybe there was somewhere where Punk and Randy Orton needed to be in 2 minutes because they got to film something or the clock is ticking and security needs to get him in and out of there. We don't really know the context. We don't know the story. Obviously, I forget the guy's name, but we see the WWE security guard all the time, the dude with the bald head, the one slightly less handsome than me, coming in to, kind of help Punk get past that kid. So, a lot of people were, just trying to, it's the security guard's fault or whatever. Who knows? It doesn't even fucking matter. All I'm saying is if it was me, I would stop, make the little fucker's day. How hard is that? And that right there would have, maybe initially helped Punk, with this whole process, because it's got to be very weird for him. It's got to be very awkward, and he faced the music in the Night of Champions kickoff show, which we'll talk about in a minute. So he's already under some scrutiny. He's already going to be under the microscope. People are going to be watching his every move. And he knows he has some fences to mend there with the fans of Saudi Arabia. We're not talking about the government. We're talking about the fans of the kingdom who live in the kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And the very first one he comes into contact with is a child. It's not like it's some dipshit 22-year-old with a podcast that wants to get a picture and an autograph so he can sell it on eBay. This is a kid. It is a child. You always make time for the child. This is the price of fame. I know it's an 18-hour flight. I know you just got off the plane. I know you might be tired. I'm not stupid. I understand how all this shit works. Even with all of that, you stop and take the picture for the kid. That's all I'm saying. And I think if that security guard, Randy Orton, and Cody Rhodes would have been walking through there, Cody absolutely would have stopped and taken that pic. It's not like Punk was forced to not take the pic, which I think is what a lot of fans are, a lot of Punk defenders are saying, oh, he couldn't. They made him go past him. That security guard isn't going to make Punk do anything, and he's not going to make Cody do anything either. If Cody or Punk wants to stop and take a pic, they can. And Punk chose not to in that situation. Does it automatically make him the worst fucking human being on earth? No, it doesn't. It doesn't change how I feel about Punk one way or the other. You know why? Because I've had 20 years to get used to Punk. I know who he is. I know what he's like. We know how his personality tends to be. We know the reputation he has and the reputation he's made for himself when it comes to this type of stuff. So all I'm saying when I looked at it, I think fans have a hard time separating like a simple critique from hate. Criticizing Punk and saying, dude, you should have taken that picture. What the fuck? Does not translate into I hate Punk. But unfortunately, when you're online, when you see that opinion, it's so black and white with these fans. There's no in between. There's no, oh, I can see this side of it and that side of it. People who hate Punk are using this as fuel to fuel and, really, really expand their Punk hate. And those who defend Punk are blowing it off like it's nothing. I think it's somewhere in the middle. Yeah, he should have taken the pic with the kid, but at the end of the day, who fucking cares? And as we saw, Punk did his best to make good on it because WWE held their Night of Champions kickoff. They've been doing this for all the pay-per-views, in the town that they're in, and they set up the big stage there. A lot of times it's outdoors during the day. And all the wrestlers who have matches come out and cut promos. Everybody was out there, Sami Zayn and Ripley and whoever the fuck. And it was CM Punk's turn to come out last. So Punk comes out there, Michael Cole's on the stage, and he's all smiles. He's slapping hands with the Saudi Arabian fans, and he gets up on the stage, and he's got a mixture of responses from the crowd. You're hearing some shut the fuck up chants. You're hearing some boos. You're hearing some pro-Punk chants. You're hearing kind of a mixture of everything. And he gets on the mic, and right away, there's a guy in the front row who calls him out about the blood money covered Saudi dick tweet to The Miz. Calls him out right there. And he said, I think he asked for the fan's name. He goes, what's your name? And he said, Muhammad. He goes down there, he shakes his hand, and he goes, hey, I sincerely apologize to Saudi Arabia. And the fans loved it. And they appreciated that. And he said, he goes, hey, I woke up moody one day 6 years ago, and I sent a mean tweet to The Miz. I've long since apologized to The Miz about it, and I want to apologize to you guys as well. I'm not perfect. I've never claimed to be perfect. We all make mistakes. It was a learning moment. It was a teaching moment. Basically said all the right things. And you can read between the lines there, people, oh, Punk is just a corporate monkey now. And I'm like, well, I don't know what you guys want him to do. He left AEW under the circumstances that he did, came over to WWE, jumped on a huge opportunity, literally broke the brains of the wrestling world showing back up at Survivor Series like that. But we knew if he's back in WWE, and for all the bad feelings that he had in WWE, he had so much worse of a time in AEW that he was willing to forgive all of that and get back into bed with that company and Triple H and mend those fences and make amends. Certainly not the first time we've seen anything like that happen. Hulk Hogan, Bruno Sammartino, The Ultimate Warrior. The list goes on and on. A lot of people who have had horrible falling out, bridge burning moments with WWE have all come back. The only one that never did was Randy Savage. Maybe Luger and Jarrett, but even they got into the Hall of Fame at the end, So when it comes to that stuff, Punk isn't the first person to have, a bad trip, so to speak, with WWE and then come back to them. And when Punk mended those fences, I think that was the first thing on a lot of our minds. What is going to happen with Saudi Arabia? How is CM Punk going to avoid going to Saudi Arabia? He's not going to be able to. He might be able to avoid going to some of them because these are only 5 and 6 match cards. The whole fucking crew doesn't go over there, unless it's a Royal Rumble or something like next year. And once they announced that, we knew that Punk was going to have to go to Saudi Arabia. So it's better he just gets it out of the way now than waiting to make the Rumble his first time there. So, when it comes to Punk, I'm like, what do they expect him to do? He's with WWE. He's making more money this month than any of these fans who hate him will make in their lives. So, of course, there's going to have to be some compromises there, and you might have to suffer the image of looking a little bit hypocritical because of your past comments. We all make choices, and Punk chose to say those things years ago, not thinking that it would matter. A couple of years ago when he said, I'd never be caught dead in one of those Saudi shows, he never thought he'd be caught dead back in WWE. At the time, he was perfectly happy in AEW. So he wasn't expecting this to happen, but it did. Shit hit the fan in AEW. He left under horrible circumstances, came back to WWE. Everything has been happy since he's been there. They're happy with him. He's happy with them. But we all knew the Saudi Arabia situation would have to be addressed eventually. So in terms of how Punk handles it and has handled it, I don't know what else he could say other than, dude, I woke up in a bad mood. You guys know me. I tend to do that sometimes. I tend to be grumpy and moody sometimes. I sent a shitty tweet out to The Miz. I've sent shitty tweets out that I regret. You guys think you haven't either? We all have, so Punk is just like, well, fuck, I'm here. I'm sorry. It was never anything, directed at the fans of Saudi Arabia. Never directed at you. This was me just being moody, and I apologize to The Miz, and I apologize to you guys as well. So as fans individually, we can all choose whether or not to take Punk's apology as genuine or sincere. I'm choosing to. You don't have to. You can take it however you want. But Punk, I feel like with all of his faults and all of his baggage, that obviously he's got to go out. He can't go over there as certainly as a babyface and act grumpy to be there. What would fans want? So the fans that are saying, oh, he's all happy now, he's such a hypocrite. Well, what would you prefer instead? For him to go over there and get on the mic and say, I fucking hate it here, they forced me to do it? Would that improve his image in any way? No. The same anti-Punk people say, oh, he's not even, company guy or whatever. No matter what he did was going to draw criticism from the people that insist on hating him. And that's the way it is with anybody. It's not just Punk. Look at Tony Khan. You've got people who think Vince McMahon, the sex trafficking, hair defecating psychopath, is a hero, and Tony Khan is public enemy number one. That's the level of insanity that's out there in the IWC. So it's up to everybody individually to judge how you feel about the CM Punk situation. To me, I'm looking at it pretty simply. I see the world in very, very simple terms. And when I saw what Punk did to that kid, I'm like, bro, you should have taken the picture. I didn't spend 2.5 days being stark, raving, vein bulging mad over it. I got shit to do. Punk, you should have taken the pic. And then I moved on. And then today I see that he apologized to the fans, and apparently he even found that kid that he blew off yesterday, and the kid got his picture today. Well, the cynics might say WWE made him do that. Maybe they did. We don't know. But I don't think that Punk went over there deliberately to be an asshole. He might have briefly forgot where he was when that kid ran up to him. He's like, nah, get the fuck away from me, thinking that he's in an airport in fucking Cleveland, instead of realizing, where actually he is. Maybe that's all it was, but when it comes to Punk's past comments on Saudi Arabia, I'm not happy with WWE's deal either, so, and I've said some pretty horrible things about that relationship and how uneasy it's made us over the past few years having to deal with this, very sketchy and shady deal between WWE and Saudi Arabia. What if Triple H called me tomorrow? Greg, I'd like to offer you a $5 million deal to come here and stand in the ring and be pretty. And I'm like, okay, I'll do that. Oh, yeah, you also got to go to Saudi Arabia. What am I going to do? Say no? No, I'm gonna turn down to $5 million. You keep that, Triple H. I said some things in a podcast 4 years ago about Saudi Arabia. I better not go. What the fuck? What would you expect me to do? Of course I'm going to go. And then if I have to address that, I'm like, look, I said some things in the past about Saudi Arabia, but now that I'm here and I've met you fans, this is what it's all about. I might not agree with what your government does. I might not agree with some of your cultures and traditions over here. But you fans, especially the young ones, you are still innocent. And I'm here to entertain you. And to see the joy on your face that I'm in front of you makes it all worth it. So you can choose how to judge the situation. The Saudi deal is weird. And I'm sure Punk isn't the only wrestler, and I'm certainly not the only fan who isn't happy about the arrangement. But unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about it if you work in WWE. Especially if you're at the top of the card, like somebody like Punk, if you want to be in WrestleMania main events and you want to be world champion, you want to be a big part of the company, you need to be there for them always. And they shouldn't have to ever worry about booking around you and your personal schedule. They already do that enough with the Romans and the Rocks and the Brocks and all that shit. So, I think that, when it comes to Punk being in Saudi Arabia, we knew he was going to have to work a show. Eventually, we knew it was going to happen. I feel like we could have done without the little situation with the fan yesterday, for sure. That didn't help Punk's situation at all. But I feel like he made good on it enough today where, as a fan, I'm satisfied and I'm moving on from it. It's not worth spending a week worrying about. So it was a big topic of conversation yesterday, pretty much the only thing people were talking about yesterday. So made for good material for today's prediction stream. So, there you go. I still like Phil. I still like him despite everything. I still like CM Punk. I had my criticisms of him, the way he handled himself in AEW. I still think he was wrong there. I still think, he made some mistakes going off, on a profanity-laced rant like that in the scrum was completely unprofessional. And then starting the fight with Jack Perry and all that, he deserved everything he got there. He deserved to be fired and whatnot. If he was having those problems with Hangman Page and the Bucks and all those things, then it should have been handled in a different way, in my opinion. That's all. Maybe you got a different opinion. Maybe, you take Punk's side and you think the Bucks and Hangman are all pieces of shit because you already have that Tony Khan stick up your ass. So everybody has different opinions on Phil Brooks and all of the drama and situations surrounding him and his name over the past 2.5 years. And we can all judge it individually for ourselves. But when I see what I saw online between the extremely pro Punk can do no wrong fans and Punk is the Antichrist fans, I kind of laugh at those two groups of people because they're all so fucking astonishingly stupid. The reality is somewhere in between. And I think at the end of the day, Punk is a good person who tends to be a little bit moody, who's had a strange upbringing and a strange life, estranged from his own brother and his own parents. So it's not that surprising that he's going to get in little, situations and confrontations with locker room guys and or people he shares a locker room with and whatnot. It's just the way Punk is. So I have still mostly enjoyed his time back in WWE. It's nice to see him there, and he appears to not only be happy, but WWE seems to be happy with him. So everything's been good so far. And I think, Punk going to Saudi Arabia is just something that was gonna have to happen one day. And now it's happened, and now he's there, and he's going to be in the main event tomorrow night. It'll be really interesting to see how he's treated by the fans, because today at the Night of Champions kickoff, he had shut the fuck up chants from the Saudi Arabia crowd. Shut the fuck up. And then they cheered him, and then after, when his music started playing, he jumped back down to that fan Mohammed and went over there and took a pic with him. And they talked. They had a conversation, like off-camera conversation. They also had a little off-mic, I should say, conversation at the beginning, when you could see Muhammad saying it into the mic. And then Punk's like, all right, man, I apologize. And then after, when Punk then started talking about Cena, started talking about his match tomorrow, then when his music is playing and they're, they got the Paul Levesque and Lee Fitting credits on there, Punk jumps down, talks to him again, gives him a hug. They take a picture. And I believe Punk even found the kid that he blew off yesterday and hooked him up with a picture as well. So, what else do you want? Apparently, today on SmackDown, those of you who did watch SmackDown, if you had a VPN or you are living outside of the U.S. and you were able to watch SmackDown live on Netflix as it aired, like I said, they did run into some technical difficulties during the Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton segment that lasted about 30 minutes. It was not a Netflix issue from what we understand. It was some sort of power outage in Saudi Arabia or in Riyadh that affected the building or something like that took them a while to get back online. So that is what they're saying for the technical difficulties there. We do have a big title match tonight. You want to keep your eye on that if you haven't seen SmackDown yet. And because it's all over the internet and it's all over Twitter and social media right now, I'll mention it here because WWE's been posting it. But Punk and Cena, I believe, closed SmackDown tonight. It was either them or the Tiffany and Nia Jax match. But I think it was Punk and Cena who closed the show. And Punk came out as the doctor of Punkonomics. So last week we had John Cena recreating the pipe bomb. This week, tonight on SmackDown, if you live here in the U.S. and you haven't seen it yet, you're going to see Punk come out and steal some of John Cena's material. So I saw most of the segment. It was okay. Okay. I'm kind of indifferent about it, both of them. I feel like Punk, his rendition of Thugonomics was fine, and I think Cena's rendition of the pipe bomb was fine. But neither were anywhere near as good as the originals. So it does look like it was a decent SmackDown tonight in Saudi Arabia. No LED aprons. It was just kind of the standard setup here. Humongous crowd. No ads on the ring mat tonight either for SmackDown, so that might be the case as well for Night of Champions tomorrow. Don't know really how that works, so it'll be nice not to see Slim Jim slapped on tables tonight, at least, or tomorrow. At least I hope they won't. And yeah, check out SmackDown tonight. It's going to be going live probably about 30 minutes after we're done wrapping up this live stream. So yeah, there's my opinions on the whole CM Punk situation, the CM Punk drama. I tweeted about the situation, and then I went to work last night. And I was working all night. I came home last night. I was doing other stuff, and just like whenever I just pulled up Twitter, it's like Punk, 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 Punk. And so I ended up posting, I think, like 3 tweets about it, because some of the people who didn't like my tweet, this one, those who didn't like that, it was like the same thing. People who were reading a criticism of Punk and what he did immediately just leap to the assumption. You know how I love that word. Wrestling fans, the IWC loves to assume. It's their number one best quality, to assume shit that ain't true. So people who are very, very pro-Punk will read that tweet from me and then assume that I'm some slobbering anti-Punk psycho who spends every single waking moment of his day hating CM Punk. That wasn't the case. This was normal, everyday, ordinary human shit. I looked at a situation, I judged it, and I moved on. It's not complicated, it's not controversial, and it's certainly not worth bursting a blood vessel over. But man, people who disagreed with my take just assume just another hater hating Punk. I'm like, what the fuck? Do you guys even take the time, like 5 seconds, to maybe check the account that you're responding to? You know, if you check my account and you see a timeline full of I hate CM Punk shit, then yeah, hit me with the you hate him stuff. But I don't. You know, Punk has done some really, really shitty things, and I have still maintained a level of respect for him. And that's pretty incredible. That just goes to show you he's got that. He's got that connection with the fans, kind of like what Bret Hart had. And I've said this a million times too. Bret Hart's my favorite wrestler of all time, but I completely disagree with him on Goldberg. I do. You don't have to just 100% be devoted to everything your favorite does and says. That's why idiots win elections in this country, because people worship regular humans. They live inside the asshole of another man. You have the White House tweeting out, "Daddy's home." What the fuck is wrong with these people? That's just so embarrassing. It's so embarrassing to be up the ass of another human like that. And I would never be that way about any wrestler, including Bret Hart. Because I don't even like Bill Goldberg, but Bret is a weirdo about that. He's obsessive and he's weird, kind of like the way Cornette is with Vince Russo. So in my mind, there's nothing wrong with looking at a situation and judging it and moving on and not let it affect how you feel. Punk, you should have taken a pic with that kid, but I moved on. It didn't change my entire 20-year perception of Punk. He's done a lot of other things that could have affected that. This was a situation where it was only me thinking to myself, dude, you should have taken that pic. That's all. You're an asshole. You're a piece of shit. None of that. It was just, dude, you should have taken the pic. That little fucker wanted a pic, and you should have given the little fucker a pic. That's all. I didn't spend 3 days stewing about it. I didn't make an entire why CM Punk is a piece of shit YouTube video. None of that. It wasn't that complicated. It was a 5-second video clip that I judged. If that was me wearing the Bret Hart shirt, I would have stopped. And that was the irony there, because Bret would have stopped too. So you're wearing a Bret Hart shirt and then blowing off a kid. Bret! What if that commercial? Remember the New Generation commercial, whatever it was back in the day? MJF recreated it in AEW, and they got the little kid, and he goes, Bret! And Bret's heading out to the ring, and he turns around. What if Bret's like, fuck you, man, I got a match? And he goes through the curtain. Bret turns around. Obviously, it's a commercial. Bret turns around, and he gives the kid his glasses. That's what it's all about. That is what it's all about. And I think I would have if I'm a baby face and I have a lot of fans who admire me, I'm going to be very loyal to those kids. They're the ones I'm going to want to make happy first. Fuck the teenagers, fuck the 20-year-old fucking douchebags. I'm talking about the kids. That little kid was so innocent, so harmless. He's just running up, Mr. Punk, and I have a picture now. Fuck you. So come on. Take the pic. Take the pic. Next time you're in that situation, CM Punk. All right, moving on to predictions. But before we do, let me go back here to the chat. I still don't know, and I apologize. I don't know why nobody's normal names are showing up here. You guys all have your emails or whatever. I'm not sure why YouTube is doing that, or if that's just a new thing, or if all the channels are experiencing that. I don't know. But let me knock out a couple of supers before we move into Night of Champions predictions. Yeah, okay, cool. We're good. All right. Did I get... where was that one from, Vontae? There you are, Vontae. Good to see you, man. Appreciate that $9.99. It looked like both Punk and Orton were focused on getting to where they needed to go. Understandable, but Punk could have acknowledged the kid. Orton probably would have did it too. Exactly. And that's what I was saying earlier. We did lack context there. So a lot of people, it was just so funny how people were slowing down and replaying it. Look, the security guard's hand touched the kid first. Like it's the fucking Kennedy assassination. I'm like, what are fans doing with their lives? But yeah, that's what I said earlier. We don't know the context. Maybe they had to be somewhere in 30 seconds. And there was just no time. Then I understand. But you have to judge it by how it looks. You have to just use the eyeball test, and from a casual just observer looking at that, it looks like Punk blew that kid off. And like I said, it doesn't mean that I think Punk's a piece of shit. It just means I wish he would have taken the pick. If Punk would have been coming through first and Orton was in Punk's position coming through and the kid ran up to him, Orton probably would have done the same thing, or maybe he wouldn't have. We don't know. All we know is Punk didn't. And I would like to know a little bit more about it before I just immediately assume that Punk's just some huge, colossal piece of fucking shit. Maybe they were in a hurry. We don't know. That's a good point, Vontae. Stone Cold, welcome to the family. Can't we all just like wrestling together? You would think. Mastodon rules. Incorrect. That's completely and totally fucking incorrect in every fucking way possible. This is the problem with people, is the assumptions that they make. There we go. If you're going to be stupid, you'll just be hidden, so we don't have to read your stupid shit again. I was like, I was pretty fucking critical of CM Punk with that picture and talked about it. I just spent all that time talking about how he should have taken that picture. And yet, that's what you take away from it. That's why people are stupid. All right. Yeah, Punk needs some of Mindy's muffins. Yeah, get him a muffin. My God. Hopefully, all I hope for Punk and Cena is they don't do to their reputation or their rivalries, or their rivalry what Taker, Kane, Shawn, and Triple H did, that fucking debacle. So I hope the match doesn't suck, and I'm worried that it might. I really am. But we're going to be predicting that match in just a second. But that's the main event, so we have to predict 5 matches first. So we have 6 total matches for Night of Champions, and we are going to start with Rhea Ripley taking on Raquel Rodriguez. This is what is this? It's a last woman standing or falls count anywhere. I done forgot. I have it right here. Please hold. Street fight. I'm sorry. It's neither. It's a street fight. So it's Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez in a street fight. You'd think this one would be pretty easy to predict, and I think it is. I'm going to predict Rhea Ripley to beat Raquel here. Although, with Liv Morgan's injury, I feel like they're setting up on TV. We've already seen it. Roxanne Perez will probably fill in for Liv Morgan. They're starting to plant those seeds and set that in motion right now. That way they don't have to vacate the women's tag team titles. So I suppose that you could have Roxanne Perez show up and help Raquel win. It's a street fight, so there's no rules. You could do that, but it's Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley's probably going to win the street fight. Somebody had recommended that when Liv Morgan is healthy, you do a tag title match with Raquel and Roxanne versus Liv and Rhea Ripley. Could you imagine Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan coming together? Because if Dominic were to leave Liv for Roxanne, that means he's dumped them both, right? So you could have them forming an alliance based on, Dominic, and what he's done to women on the roster. I just think that would be funny if he had both Liv and Rhea on the same page if he turned on Liv. That might actually be kind of good if they wound up doing that. We'll see. But even though you've got the street fight stipulation, even though we could see Roxanne Perez and other members of the Judgment Day perhaps even come out there, including Dominic. Although, no, Dominic isn't there. Dominic is not there. So you could have some interference that would help Raquel win, but I don't see it. I feel like Ripley's Ripley, and she's going to beat Raquel Rodriguez. Now, it is interesting, to think about what Rhea Ripley is going to do at SummerSlam, because if she's not going to face, like, let's say Asuka wins the Queen of the Ring, that means Rhea Ripley isn't going to be in a title match at SummerSlam unless she's in a tag team title match or she wrestles for the Intercontinental title or something like that. So I feel like Ripley is likely got to be like earmarked for a championship match. So, it'll probably be like Ripley and Io Sky and maybe Asuka or something like that in a triple threat is maybe what they'll do. I don't know. But either way, Rhea Ripley, I have beating Raquel Rodriguez in that street fight. That one was added on Monday night, along with Karrion Kross taking on Sami Zayn. So Kross and Zayn are finally getting that match. It's going to be here in Saudi Arabia. A lot of Karrion Kross discourse this week, too. A lot of videos of his last couple of matches where apparently he's not taking back bumps. He's falling all sideways. And then fans started acting like he's never taken a back bump. And I forgot, was it Alvarez or somebody like that was talking on their show? Oh, yeah, I've talked to people in WWE. Bro, just watch his next match. He won't take a back bump. And I'm like, hasn't Kross been wrestling for a lot of years? If he wasn't taking back bumps, wouldn't we have noticed this like 8 years ago? So it feels like whatever this is something new. Maybe he's working through an injury. We don't really know. But there's been a lot of talk about Cross's, in-ring work and how he's been bumping lately, and maybe that's why he's working, main event. I was speculating all this time that WWE's trying to manufacture a growing, a growing support for him from the audience by purposely not using him. He cut that great promo in that interview after WrestleMania. Fans kind of took notice to that. We want Cross, push Cross hashtags are starting. And I feel like the more WWE kind of keeps him off TV or just slightly out of the spotlight, the more those fans are going to rally for him. And that's what WWE was trying to do. But maybe not. Maybe it's been that Cross has been dealing with a nagging injury all this time. Plus, apparently, he's in a contract year and his contract is up this summer. But I felt like I've been more interested in Cross lately than I ever have in his entire time in WWE so far. So, if you're going to let him go, I think you should keep him around. But if he's physically, debilitated in some way, or he's not delivering in the ring, I don't know really what you do when his contract is up. Don't really know. I'm going to pick Sami Zayn to get the win here. And I'm also going to predict that this match probably won't be very good. I feel like it's going to be slow. You got to give Sami the win here in front of the Saudi Arabia crowd, because this gives WWE a way for Sami to not win the King of the Ring, but also manage to get himself a victory in Saudi Arabia. And he's my early pick to win the Royal Rumble. A couple of weeks ago on the podcast, when Sami was still in the King of the Ring, he hadn't been eliminated yet. I said, if I had my choice, because I don't think Sami Zayn's going to win the King of the Ring in Saudi Arabia and win the Royal Rumble. It's going to be one or the other. And if I had my choice, it would be the Royal Rumble. And then right after that, Sami loses his King of the Ring match. So he's out, and now he gets to have a match anyway, a match that he should and probably will win. And I still think Sami will win next year's Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia. He'd be the perfect guy to win it. Sami Zayn over Karrion Kross. Jacob Fatu is defending his United States Championship against Solo Sikoa. I mentioned that for this match, when it finally happened, I felt like Solo Sikoa would probably get the win, because we've been waiting for the debut of Hikuleo for I think what are we going on, 9 years now, something like that. I think he signed with the company 9 years ago, and we've been waiting for him to debut. He has not debuted yet, or at least on one of the main shows. Finally, a week or so ago, he had a match on Main Event. I think he's now had 2 overall. So the WWE audience has seen him. He has finally had a match, even though they haven't brought him in to do anything yet. They just had him work Main Event. So what does that mean? I feel like he's going to have to debut somewhere at some point. So I think right here in Saudi Arabia would be a good place for that. Solo Sikoa debuted, in Scotland, right? At the Clash of the Champions show when Roman beat Drew. I think you do something similar here, and you have Solo Sikoa, and JC Mateo can be out there, and you can have all that. Jimmy Uso can even come out there and help out Jacob on his behalf, as we did see them kind of develop a little bit of an alliance over the past week or two on SmackDown, including today. So if Jimmy is there, we know he's there. So he could get involved. JC Mateo could get involved, but I think maybe the deciding factor will be Hikuleo interfering and helping Solo Sikoa win the United States Championship. So I'm not 100% sold on Hikuleo debuting or Solo winning. Could be one or the other. Hikuleo could debut and Solo could still lose, or Solo could win the title and Hikuleo doesn't win or doesn't debut. Could go either way there, but I'm going to pick Solo. I'm picking Solo. You got to have a heel in here somewhere, man. You got to have a heel in here. And I think, the main event, Cena being a heel in front of this crowd, that's debatable. I'm not sure how hard he's going to be booed. And I think Solo is your one kind of bona fide heel that you have that you can give a victory to. So I'm going to predict Solo Sikoa with a lot of help to beat Jacob Fatu and win the United States title. And then maybe you run it back with a stip at SummerSlam or whatever, and Jacob gets the title back, or Jacob has just moved on to, a bigger championship, so to speak. But yeah, Solo Sikoa, I believe, is going to walk out of Night of Champions as the new United States champion. Man, this one's hard. I've gone back and forth on this so many times. And one of the things I've mentioned over and over about the women's Queen of the Ring final is that what I thought they were going to do is do a big triple threat at SummerSlam between Jade Cargill, Naomi, and Bianca Belair. Well, I don't even know where Bianca Belair is. Has she been on TV? Where is she? Have we not seen her in a couple of weeks, or have I just been not paying attention? Don't even feel like Bianca's been around very much. Plus, you have Naomi with the briefcase. My belief was that Naomi would cash in on Tiffany Stratton, probably at Evolution, win the championship, and then go on to SummerSlam to defend it against Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair in a triple threat, so those three can finally have this match. And I still think that would be an excellent direction to go in, because Asuka could win the Queen of the Ring and she could challenge Io Sky at SummerSlam, and that would be a tremendous match. Only problem with that is, with that whole scenario of Asuka winning, challenging Io, and then Jade, even though she's losing here, still manages to get her title shot after Naomi cashes in and her and Bianca and Naomi work SummerSlam. That all works and it fits perfectly. The only problem is, what do you do with Rhea Ripley in that situation? That puts Rhea Ripley out of a championship match at SummerSlam. That doesn't seem likely to me. So I think I'm going to switch my pick. I had Asuka picked all the way up until earlier today. Asuka was going to be my pick to win the Queen of the Ring. But as some folks pointed out, Jade could probably use it more. You know, Asuka's a made woman. I'm thinking about it too from Triple H's point of view. Think about Triple H, and, you know, some fans have their opinions of, you know, who he likes to push and who he favors and who he doesn't, whether it be, you know, gender or race or whatever. We all have our own thoughts on that. But Triple H, Asuka was his girl in NXT. He never beat her. You know, so if you're Triple H, who do you want to put over in this situation? Asuka or Jade? You know, do you go with your heart, you know, or do you go with, you know, what might be better? You know, Asuka doesn't necessarily need an accolade like this, where Jade could really benefit from it. Plus, it would give Jade a title shot at SummerSlam against Tiffany Stratton, perhaps, where Jade Cargill wins the championship from Tiffany. And then Naomi comes down and cashes in. So instead of Naomi cashing in on Tiffany at Evolution, I think Naomi cashing in on Jade at SummerSlam might be more fun. So I think I'm going to switch my thoughts, because before my thought was Asuka wins the Queen of the Ring and Jade can still get a title shot on SmackDown at SummerSlam against Naomi and Bianca or Tiffany or whoever. You can reverse this and it still works. We saw Io Sky and Asuka have that little meetup on Raw. They've planted that seed. But what about Rhea Ripley? So instead of doing the triple threat that I originally thought would happen between Jade, Bianca, and Naomi, I think you do a triple threat on Raw instead between Asuka, Io Sky, and Rhea Ripley. And then the SmackDown Women's Championship is a one-on-one match. So I'm going to change my pick to Jade Cargill to defeat Asuka and become the Queen of the Ring. And instead of my idea of Naomi cashing in on Tiffany at Evolution, I think Tiffany should keep the belt until SummerSlam, face Jade Cargill, have Jade beat her, and then have Naomi cash in. Because that's been my whole thing. Jade beat Naomi at WrestleMania. So whenever these two get in the ring again, Naomi has to win. So my belief was Naomi would cash in on Tiffany, face Bianca and Jade in a triple threat at SummerSlam for the title, and retain. But instead, you could still do it where Jade actually wins the championship. You know, because Jade, I don't know how WWE really feels about her in the ring. We've watched her in the ring. She's getting better. She has her moments. But my God, sometimes it looks like she ain't ready. You know, but look at her. She's Jade Cargill. You know, her holding the championship, even if for a minute, you know, does accomplish something, and it makes her a former women's champion and a former Queen of the Ring winner. So I'm going to pick Jade. I think Jade wins the championship, gets the title shot at SummerSlam and wins the championship, but gets cashed in on. That's going to be Naomi's revenge for WrestleMania. She's going to cash in and beat Jade for the title. And that gives Tiffany a little bit longer to hold on to the belt. because she went into WrestleMania as champion. When did she win the title? I don't even remember when Tiffany won the title. When did she beat Nia? When did she cash in? Was it last year? Because Tiffany's held the title for a while now, right? Might have been earlier this year. I don't even remember when it was. Now it's going to bother me. Wins title. When did she win the title? January. Was it January? I don't remember. I can't find it. Anyway, tell me in the chat. But it feels like she's been champ for a while, so she can pretty much lose it at any time. Maybe the Evolution thing. You got to have something big happen at Evolution. So I think in Naomi cash-in, that could also happen at Evolution. I think it would be more fun if Jade beat Tiffany for the title and then Naomi cashed in on her. But you could have Naomi cashing in on Tiffany and then simply defending the title against Jade at SummerSlam and beating her. You could do that. You could have Jade lose the title shot opportunity. But I think having her win and have Naomi come in and take it away from her might be a little bit fun. And if you could weave Bianca into that somehow, could be even more fun. Thank you, We Are Pro Wrestling. See, that's why you're here. January 3rd on SmackDown. Okay, Bianca has a hand injury. All right. So she's definitely has something going on. But hopefully whatever that is could, technically bring her back by SummerSlam. So that could be factored in too. Bianca's hand injury might make my earlier scenario of that Bianca, Jade, and Naomi triple threat make it not work. So, I'm actually changing my pick to Jade Cargill to beat Asuka and become the queen of the ring. Now we got the king of the ring, Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton. We've been waiting to get this match. We thought we were going to get this in a different form. I thought eventually Randy Orton would have to turn heel and we would get this feud. But instead, it's not a feud. It's just a spirited competition, between two men who have a long history but have a deep respect for each other. And they're going into this thing basically both as baby faces. But I think even throughout the course of a match, babyface or not, the Viper is still the Viper. So if Randy Orton, wants to do some Randy Orton type of things in this match, he certainly isn't going to hesitate to do that, even if he is in there with Cody Rhodes. But the problem with this match and predicting it, and I'm still hoping we get maybe a program, maybe even something is set in motion here between these two. Maybe whatever happens at the end of the match can set up a feud down the line. But one thing about predicting this match, and one problem with this match when it comes to predicting it, is that it's almost too easy because we just saw Randy Orton and John Cena at Backlash. It doesn't feel like that would be the match they would do at SummerSlam. Now, you could say, well, Greg, we saw Cody and Cena at WrestleMania, and we saw it at Money in the Bank in the form of a tag team match. You're right, we did. But it feels like those guys are in a rivalry. Think of what Cena did to Cody when he turned heel and whatnot. So Randy Orton and John Cena at Backlash, even though R-Truth came in there and really screwed over Randy Orton, and Randy Orton certainly has a case for a rematch, I don't feel like that's the match they would do for SummerSlam. I think it's got to be Cody Rhodes and John Cena for the championship. So I'm going to predict Cody Rhodes to beat Randy Orton, become the king of the ring. Another accolade for Cody because he already won the big-ass green belt over there. Remember when he beat Gunther and that nonsense a couple years ago or last year? When was that? Whenever that was. So obviously it's going to be another feather, another Saudi Arabian feather in Cody's cap here. That's going to grant him the opportunity to face John Cena at SummerSlam. But man, think if Punk pulled it off. What if Punk wins the title tomorrow? Then you got Cody Rhodes and CM Punk. I might want Cody and Punk more than Cody and Cena. But it doesn't feel like that's what we're going to see. It feels like it's probably going to be Cody Rhodes and John Cena. But we could be wrong either way, regardless of who wins, between CM Punk and John Cena, their SummerSlam opponent needs to be Cody Rhodes. So Cody Rhodes is going to beat Randy Orton. Like I said, something might happen at the end of this match. Because there was, what happened to Randy? Was it the match with Gunther? What happened to Randy where he got pinned, but he didn't get pinned? And then they acknowledged it. Maybe there's something like that. And Randy, that sets the wheels in motion for his heel turn. And after Cody wins back the title from Cena, assuming that happens, now he's got to contend with an angry heel Randy Orton who wants revenge for Saudi Arabia. Maybe it's something like that. But for this match, it feels like it's got to be Cody because they wouldn't do Orton and Cena, and they probably wouldn't do Orton and Punk either. You know, Orton and Punk would be fine, but Cody and Punk would be way more intriguing, I think, at least to me. I don't know how you guys feel, but at least to me, Cody and Punk would be more intriguing than Orton and Punk. But I got Cody over Randy Orton to become the King of the Ring. My only concern there, it might make me want to change my pick again. Help me out. What happened last year? So my Jade pick from earlier gives both victories to SmackDown. Another reason why I had earlier picked Asuka is because you get one crown on one show and the other crown on the other. You know, so Asuka could win the Queen of the Ring on Raw. Cody wins the King of the Ring on SmackDown. I like the balance there. I've now changed my pick to have two SmackDown people winning the King and Queen of the Ring. I don't know if I like that or not. Plus, you know, Raw is going to come up winless in the King and Queen of the Ring, and they're also going to come up winless in their championship match because they have a Raw guy taking on a SmackDown guy in Punk and John Cena. Can I switch my pick again back to Asuka? Here's my problem with Asuka winning. Where does that leave Rhea Ripley? Where does that leave Rhea? Please tell me they don't book her in a handicap tag match against Roxanne and Raquel, and then she beats them both and wins 2 titles at SummerSlam. It can't be that. So I'm inclined to stick with Jade because of I don't know what the fuck Rhea Ripley does at SummerSlam if she's not in a championship match. What's she going to do? What's she going to do? Face Dominic for the Intercontinental? Ooh. Rhea Ripley versus Dominic for the Intercontinental title. No, they probably won't do that. Speaking of Dominic, it was supposed to be Dominic versus AJ Styles for the Intercontinental title here at Night of Champions, but they pulled that match on Raw. And you know what? I spent all week and I never once looked up to see if we have learned the reason on that. It feels like it might be Dominic saying, I don't want to go over there. We are bombing Iran. I know I'm probably going to be safe, but I'm just a goddamn kid. I'm just a cute, sexy kid with great hair and an awesome mustache. I don't want to go over there. And he's a Mysterio. That's the power that name brings. No problem. We even had you booked in a championship match, and we will rescind it. I don't know if that's going to hurt Dominic politically behind the scenes or not, but it could have been Ray being like, my boy's not going over there. Even though I think Ray has Ray worked Saudi Arabia? So I don't know, it might just be Dominic saying, no, I'm just uncomfortable. And so I don't know if we've gotten the story on that, but it feels like that's the reason. And they're storyline wise, they're saying that Dominic is distraught over Liv Morgan's injury and absence. So he's not mentally prepared to go over there, but I think it might be something deeper than that. And that's just a cover. So if any of you guys know, let me know. All right. And that leaves us with what should be our main event, correct? John Cena defending the undisputed WWE Championship against Chick Magnet Punk. My God, CM Punk and John Cena all these years later. It's funny that the show that they did 3 fucking weeks ago was Money in the Bank. You have to read between the lines there too. Part of me is wondering if WWE's like, yeah, we could do Punk and Cena at Money in the Bank and then do the tag match that we did at Money in the Bank at King of the Ring, although you can't do that if Cody's going to win the King of the Ring. But you could have made this match happen outside of Saudi Arabia if you wanted to. But this gave a storyline reason for them to address Punk's past thoughts on Saudi Arabia when Cena said, hey, if you want this, you got to come to Saudi Arabia to get it. And now, Punk, of course, is there and he's addressed everything. And we've dealt with a lot of Punk chatter over the past day and a half here online. And now it's time. He's there. He's in Saudi Arabia. He just worked SmackDown. The doctor of Punkonomics cut a rap on John Cena to pay him back for plagiarizing the pipe bomb last week. And tomorrow is the match. I think it would be awesome if CM Punk won the championship. I would not rule it out. I think a lot of fans, if you're putting confidence points or you're trying to put a percentage on this, most people are probably 90% Cena, 100% Cena. And I'm kind of in there too, but I am not going to just easily dismiss the possibility of CM Punk winning the championship. What irony that would be. The day that CM Punk tweeted out to The Miz, imagine that day as he's there on his phone and he's typing out, "Go suck a Saudi blood money covered dick," or whatever he said. If he could have been in his own head and said, "I'm going to win the WWE Championship in that very kingdom in 7 years." Like, you can't even make that up. You know, it probably would have seemed so crazy and such a crazy thought to him, you know, that would be a reality. And here it is all these years later, you know, and here he is. He's in the middle of where he thought he would never be, where he said he would never be. And he's going to be winning the company that he thought he would never be in again. He's going to win their biggest prize in a ring in a city that he never thought he would see. That's crazy. That's just crazy. I would do it. I would have CM Punk beat John Cena. And then I would have Cody Rhodes face CM Punk at SummerSlam. And then John Cena comes in and fucks the whole thing up. CM Punk keeps the title. John Cena and Cody Rhodes finish out their feud for the rest of the year while Punk's champion. And then you run it back, Punk and Cody at the Rumble. I don't know, something like that. It's probably not going to happen. I'm still going to predict John Cena to retain the championship here. I don't want this match to suck. I'm very worried about having vibes of Brothers of Destruction and DX, that debacle that I think was what led to Shawn Michaels blocking me. I don't want to see that happen to these guys and to that legacy. And given Cena's matches, you know, the slow nature of them and the really lame finishes. I mean, if they just do the belt shot, if they do the low blow shot to the head with the belt and Punk gets pinned and Punk falls for that, I'm going to be disappointed. I got no problem with Cena retaining and whatever they do here, but I would prefer it be something fun. You know, I would prefer it be a fun match, unique finish, something clever, not just the basic, stupid, same old shit. We got enough of that for years with Roman Reigns with the Bloodline. We're getting enough of that right now in AEW with Moxley. And now we got Cena doing the same old repetitive shit. There's got to be something different to this one. And if Punk does fall short here, you know, I am curious how they structure that, you know, because Punk got put out by Cena at the Chamber, you know, so how is Cena going to defeat Punk here and retain? Is he going to be able to do it by himself? There's one big name we have not mentioned yet, Seth Rollins. I don't know if he's over there or not. Was he on SmackDown tonight, for those of you who watched it? I don't know. Juliet, no kidding. It's the anniversary of the OG pipe bomb. I had no idea. Wow. I remember that. I was in upstate New York on vacation, and I was getting messages like crazy. I don't even think I was on Twitter yet. I might have been. No, I think I was. Yeah, I guess it was Twitter. And oh my God, good mic work. Have you seen? And it took me a whole nother week to get home and finally post a video about it. But man. So we have not mentioned Seth Rollins yet. I don't know if he's over there, if he made the trip. It doesn't look like, based on what I saw, that he was on SmackDown tonight. So if they're hiding him, you know, he could come out there and play a role in this thing. I don't think Rollins would cash in here. I feel like if Rollins was going to jump and cash in on the other championship, he would do that at SummerSlam, not here. But that doesn't mean he can't come out here and be a part of this. So I just don't know if I'm, as a fan, going to be able to accept someone of Punk's, you know, wrestling IQ and someone with Punk's experience who's been watching Cena during this heel run, watching how he wins matches and the tactics he's used to win the matches since turning heel, how the fuck he would fall for a low blow and a shot to the head with the belt. You got to be ready for that. You got to see it coming. You know, one thing I would do if I was CM Punk, as soon as the match started, I would run on the outside of the ring, grab the belt, and throw it into the fucking crowd, you know, or hide it, or put it somewhere where Cena can't get to it. Pick it up, lift up the ring apron, and literally chuck it into underneath the ring to where it's like in the middle of the ring under there. You know, so if Cena wants it, he's got to crawl through all that shit. He'd be better off just getting a chair. So I would do something like that to neutralize Cena's kind of go-to tactics of getting his matches won. So as a fan, I feel like I need more than that. I need more than the low blow and the shot to the face with the belt. You got to give me more. If CM Punk is going to go down here to John Cena and John Cena is going to pin him and retain, I'm fine with that. But give me Seth Rollins out there teasing a cash in. Give me some sort of another run in. Who is Punk fucking with anybody else on TV right now? Is there anybody else that could come out there? R-Truth? There you go. What about CM Punk and R-Truth at SummerSlam? Because, when I mentioned what's Ripley going to do at SummerSlam, what's Punk going to do at SummerSlam? Could be Punk and Rollins. Could be Punk and Rollins. Could definitely be Punk and Rollins. Probably will be Punk and Rollins because Rollins with the briefcase isn't going to have a title match, so he's going to have to be involved in something too. It might be the blow-off of Punk and Rollins. Remember when I pitched the WrestleMania 15 scenario? I think I pitched it with somebody else, though, with LA Knight. I pitched it with it might be LA Knight and Rollins. Or it could be LA Knight and CM Punk against Reed and Breaker. Yeah, but it could be LA Knight versus Rollins or Punk versus Rollins. Either way, I think Rollins loses at SummerSlam in that one-on-one match, but he cashes in either later on that night or on the next night. So I'd put him in a one-on-one match in night one. I'd have him lose. And then I'd have him show up later in night one in the title match or on night two in that title match and cash in. So it could be Punk and Seth Rollins, but if R-Truth runs out here, R-Truth, don't forget, he just attacked, what's-his-face? Pretty deadly guy. Because he was so obsessed with Cena, getting his hands on Cena. Cena wasn't even in the building yet. So, R-Truth might be over there, and he might run down and try to help Punk. If Cena goes for some heel shit, if we have a ref bump, and Cena now is going out to the outside of the ring to grab the belt, you could have Ron Killings run down there and attempt to stop Cena, but whatever happens winds up costing CM Punk. You could have Rollins come out there teasing a cash-in, but that means Rollins would have to fly all the way to Saudi Arabia just to stay hidden for 2 fucking days. I would be like, nah, man, I'm not doing that. I'm not leaving Becky, my hot-ass wife, and my kid to go do that. No, fuck you. I'm not doing that. But he might be over there. They might have him hidden away in some hotel. Like playing video games and eating snacks, just waiting for his cue to come out at the end of Night of Champions. So we don't know. But at the end of the day, I got to pick John Cena to retain, even though I think it would be super fun if Punk won the title. But that's an interesting stat there by Juliet. Anniversary of the OG pipe bomb. Also, 5 from Juliet. It's a rib injury, according to Meltzer. Shouldn't miss time, but it's enough to pull Dom. Also, YouTube updated and messed up names. Yeah, okay. Okay, so I'm not the only stream dealing with this. Okay, that's good, because I was worried about that. I'm like, did I have some setting on that I didn't know about? So hopefully by the time we get to our stream tomorrow, this has fixed itself and your normal usernames are there. Some of your usernames are the same, but some are different. Zane G, appreciate the 5, bro. When Punk blew the kid off, Orton should have been like, screw Punk. Come on, kid, I'll take the pick with you. I don't even think Orton saw it because Orton was ahead of Punk. So I don't think Orton even saw what happened at all. But I think if Orton did, I feel like Orton would probably be like Cody, who he would just do it. He would probably be like Brett. I would like to think that, But again, like I said, I'm like, we might not be having the full context on that. Judging from what you could just visualize there, it kind of looked kind of shitty for Punk to blow the kid off, but maybe they were in a hurry. Maybe they had somewhere to be. Whatever, I wasn't losing my shit over it. I was just being like, yo, you should have snapped one with the kid. But all worked out, probably worked out better because if Punk would have stopped, he would have had to do that so fast. And apparently today, the kid got a much better pick during the kickoff because Punk did make a point to make that right. And sometimes that's all I ask for, just make it right. Okay, Juliet. So I'm glad to hear it's been happening in other people's streams. I was so worried. I'm like, what did I do wrong? Nick Musser, wasn't it the security guy who told the kid to move? I mean, not really. They were both there. Punk, it looked like both of their hands kind of pushed him away. But again, it's not, Punk definitely moved the kid out of the way with his hand. So the people that just want to put it all on the security guard, I'm like, just look at it. Like, we all have got two eyes in our heads, right? We're not looking at different videos here. Just watch it. Just watch it. Watch it, Nick. Pull it up, look at it. It's not hard to see. You see Punk just shoving him away. The security guard's hand came in there a little bit too, but you can't say it was all the security guard because it wasn't. Eyes will tell you that. Just watch it. Just watch it. But again, I didn't really care. I didn't care as much as the rest of the interweb did. All right. Well, I think that's it for my notes and everything. We are done. Right on. Tomorrow, we've got the stream set for 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific. So we will be up here to review Night of Champions. There's a chance we might come up a little bit early, but I doubt it. I'll probably come up here at that time. But because I might have a little bit to catch up on Night of Champions, and there might be some wrestling news to discuss as well. So we'll schedule tomorrow's review for around the same time that we normally do podcasts on Saturdays. So be looking forward to that. We also have a watch-along planned for Sunday, and we'll be here Monday night for the Raw review as well. So going to be a long few days with me. Thank you so much for hanging out tonight, guys. I am going to check on making sure I didn't miss any other super chats. Oh yeah, Roman Reigns was another name. We're talking about what will people do at SummerSlam. So we need matches for LA Knight, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and probably Seth Rollins' crew. So Juliet's got LA Knight, Punk, and Roman versus I guess Rollins, Breaker, and Reed. Yeah, it could be some mega 6-man like that. But SummerSlam also, Juliet, is a 2-day event. So that's a lot of talent to gob up in one match. You know what I mean? I feel like you could take all of that talent and get like 4 matches out of that. So that might be too much in one place. Maybe it's Rollins with a one-on-one match and it's Reed and Breaker in a tag. But I do like the idea of Roman Reigns and Braun Breaker. If Roman Reigns is going to be involved at SummerSlam, and it's not going to be for the title, then what is Roman Reigns going to do? Roman Reigns, maybe it's, what is Gunther going to do? It might be Roman and Gunther. We don't know where Roman's going to show up. If he's going to show up, if he shows up on SmackDown, he's not going to be in the title picture because that's Cody or Orton's going to get the title match there. But if he shows up on Raw, that title match is still up for grabs for SummerSlam. So Gunther is going to need an opponent for someone, assuming it's not Goldberg going into SummerSlam. But yeah, we kind of really didn't think about Roman Reigns or Gunther for that matter. It could be Punk and Gunther. Punk could get royally screwed here. That might be what they do. Punk could get royally screwed against John Cena. And then Cody, winning King of the Ring, now Punk is screwed. He could go to a GM being like, look, I can't get my match against Cena now because Cody's got it. So I want a match against Gunther instead. He might wind up getting a title match at SummerSlam. So Punk could face Rollins. Punk could be in some sort of tag match with Roman Reigns. Punk could also face Gunther at SummerSlam. Or, if he beats Cena here tomorrow, Punk could be champion facing Cody Rhodes. So Punk has got some options. I think Roman and Breaker might be the match to do, but Roman and Seth, you got to get another one there too. Might be Roman and Seth at SummerSlam. Could be. And then it's, that would be interesting if it was Roman Reigns and Seth, because that flips the script, because everybody else that's faced Roman Reigns, it's been Roman who's had Heyman by his side and big, bad backup. Now it's Roman by himself. His former advocate is now on the other side, and now his opponent's got all the backup. He's going to get to feel what it's like. I would do that. I would book Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins, and I would have Roman Reigns fall victim to how all of his victims fell victim to him. The same way. Rollins, the numbers game, too much Rollins line, or too much Dangerous Alliance, too much Oracle, whatever the fuck they're going to be called. Too much of them to overcome. That would be great. It's poetic justice, And then Roman has to work his way back, to the championship. And he has to go the way of, everybody else that had to do it that way when he was on top with all that backup, calling his own shots, Heyman by his side, crew of homies surrounding him, unfucking touchable. And now he's all by himself, watching somebody else live that life. Could be Roman and Seth. We will see. I'd like that. I would like it. Plot twist, kid was wearing a Jack Perry shirt. I love it. Hey, and that's the thing. As much as I like Punk and everything, he, if people want to troll him, he deserves it, If you write something out like go suck a bloody blood money covered dick in Saudi Arabia, and then you go over there, you're going to think some of them fans aren't going to have something to say to you? It's just got to be realistic. So Punk is, he's taking his lumps, and he's facing the music, and, what else do you want from him, That's the way I see it. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. SmackDown is going to air in a little bit over half an hour, so for those of you who have not seen it, please enjoy SmackDown. I've seen some of it, and I will check out probably a little bit more later. But I think I'm going to chill out and enjoy my Friday night, and I hope you guys do the same. Don't forget to join us tomorrow for our Night of Champions review. We will be up here at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific to talk all about that, and should be a doozy. Y'all have a good rest of your night. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you soon. Peace.